Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Blackboard with Amina. Today, we are talking about bullying, and it's not the children versus children type of bullying that we all know. Today, we are talking about the ones that are silently approved and encouraged by the adults around us in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, and places that we typically have children. In many Nigerian homes and even schools, bullying does not always start with children. Sometimes it starts with statements like, look at Amina, does she have two heads? Why can't you be like Tolu? Look at your elder sister, she's always coming first, you're always coming seventh. Does she have two heads? Comparisons, right? At first, they may come off to a lot of adults or people as motivation, but children process information differently from adults. In our classroom, sometimes the teacher says, "You're such a hopeless child, I don't know what to do with you. You're not getting it. You're so dull." Yes, these are words that teachers, some of us even grew up hearing from teachers, educators around us. When statements like this are made in class, sometimes everybody laughs. You single out a particular child and say, you're just dull. Or sometimes when a child is asked to read, right? When a child is asked to maybe read a passage or say something or answer a question, the child gets it correctly. The teacher says, you're just so dull. You're so hopeless. Everybody in the class laughs. And that's how it quietly starts. That's how it begins. That child begins to, feel very insecure. They stop raising their hands in class to attempt to answer questions. Yes. So sometimes teachers, they silently endorse, they approve, they encourage bullying. Sometimes bullying is not even shouting. It is sometimes embedded in even laughter. Sometimes you see the teacher or the adult at home says, "You can't even take a joke. I'm just joking. I'm just playing with you." But the child is not happy. You have made the child feel less of or less than. Sometimes the child is mocked at home for speaking incorrectly, for how they look, their body shape, their figure, for being too quiet, for being too slow. The most prominent one of it is for how a child looks. In fact, personally, I was a victim of this growing up. I went to a boarding school for my junior secondary school. I was in a boarding school, and I even had a name that was attributed to me. I wasn't very tall, and I was the fat kid in school at the time. So there were so many names, my teachers, my seniors in school, so many things, and it affected my self-esteem so much that I started wearing oversized uniform. I wasn't confident in myself. I wasn't confident in my body, in my shape, right? So these are things that a lot of people around us, even adults, some adults of today, experienced as children. Now I can confidently say I was able to overcome it, but there are people who never did. So as adults, we need to make a conscious effort to ensure that we are always very kind to children. There are so many ways you can encourage them to be better. But embarrassing them, sometimes even in classrooms, you'll see where a particular child is used as an example for failure. Yes. You say, don't be like Amina, or don't be like Aisha, don't be like this one, don't be like that one. A child is used as an example for failure, and it is, oh my God, it is so bad. Teachers, school owners, please be kind. Adults at home, I don't compare children. Comparison, oh my God, you have no idea the amount of damage comparison can cause to a child's self-esteem. It makes them so insecure. Sometimes children, they don't even try anymore. After all, I'm the dullard in the family. Why even make an effort? After all, I don't know how to read. I'm the dullard in class. Why even make an effort? So these labels, sometimes they define how children see themselves. Now, let's redefine bullying. Bullying is not always shouting, insulting, beating, or even pushing. Sometimes bullying starts with repeated shame, repeated comparison, repeated exclusion, and repeated labeling. And sometimes when children grow up in that environment, they just don't become victims, they also go on to become perpetrators. Yes, because children just don't do or copy what we teach them. They also see the things that we tolerate, and they will continue to push their limits. Maybe we need to begin to ask ourselves a harder question. Before we say children are bullies, we need to now begin to look inward. What environment are we creating that normalizes this behavior? Because let me tell you, children are not born bullies. There is not a single child today that was born a bully. They learn. They learn tone, they learn labels, they learn hierarchy, and they also learn what is acceptable through us. And to be honest, let me tell you, a classroom or a home does not even need physical violence to produce bullies. Sometimes it only needs repeated words that make a child feel less than. So thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond the Blackboard with Amina. If this episode spoke to you, if it got to you, please share it with the adults around you, share it with other parents, share it with your educators, your teachers. People, we need to begin to wake up. We need to begin to make an intentional effort. Choose kindness in our words, in our actions, and even in the things that we accept. Thank you. Bye.